The story of John Harris begins on a quiet morning, when the sun barely touched the edges of his land. These acres had been in his family for generations. The land was more than soil. It was memory, heritage, a testament to years of sweat and struggle. Yet here he stood, watching 35 homes rise where no homes should have stood, neat and polished, all courtesy of a homeowners association that saw his family's history as empty space, ready for development. John had tried everything: letters, meetings, appeals, even public protests. But the HOA moved with the cold precision of bureaucracy. They ignored him at every turn, signed papers, approved construction, bulldozed not only the earth but the legacy his ancestors had poured into it, walking the boundaries of his land, touching the worn bark of trees, feeling the undulating soil beneath his feet. He felt anger simmering, not from desire for revenge, but from the ache of being unseen, unheard, disregarded. Yet he remained patient, as his father had taught him. True power lies in knowing the right moment to act, and that moment was closer than it appeared. Behind the ridge, nestled quietly beyond the pines, lay a dam his grandfather had built, sturdy and relentless, holding back a river that could feed the valley or, if released, reshape it entirely. John studied the homes below, their windows glinting in the sunlight, the lawns manicured, the streets clean. People inside were oblivious to the wrong they were living on. He thought of Richard Cole, the HOA president. With his smooth smile and sharper threats, letters arrived from him threatening fines for trespassing and interfering with community development. They piled on the shelf but never broke John's resolve. John knew something the HOA would never understand. Water is not only life, it is consequence. Patience carries force. History always remembers those who tried to erase it. Weeks turned into months. Every evening John walked to the dam, running his fingers along the cold metal of the gate. He imagined the rush of the river breaking free, visualizing the moment when those who had ignored him would see the power of patience and the cost of arrogance. He did not act out of spite, but out of necessity. Some truths can only be understood when they are felt. When they crash through the walls, people build around themselves. Then the day came when the sun was high, and the valley below basked in ignorance and comfort. John, standing firm with a wrench in hand, began to unlock the gate. Each bolt was a symbol of years of suppression, each turn a whisper of ancestors reminding him of their toil. As the final bolt gave way, the water surged like a living thing, pressing against the earth, flowing with a force that seemed to carry every injustice it had ever known. John stood unmoving as the flood raced down the valley, licking the foundations of 35 homes, toppling fences, sweeping vehicles, washing away lawns, leaving chaos in the place of order. In that moment, he felt neither joy nor malice, only clarity. Justice was not a scream or a punch. It was water, unstoppable, inevitable, a voice long denied, finally speaking in a language even the blind could see. Neighbors screamed and ran, trying to comprehend the sudden onslaught. John remained silent, watching the lessons unfold. This was not for punishment. It was for truth, for the land itself. When the flood receded, leaving mud, debris, and echoes of a day no one would forget, John walked the perimeter of his reclaimed land. The dam stood firm behind him. He felt the weight of generations settle onto his shoulders, not as burden, but as honor. He had carried forward what was given to him, preserved what was taken for granted, reminded the world that some things are not for sale. Some things cannot be signed away. Some voices once unleashed cannot be silenced again. Journalists arrived, cameras flashing, microphones pointed, eager for sound bites. John spoke, not loudly but clearly. He told the story of his family, of the land, of the arrogance of men who thought rules could erase memory. People listened, first in disbelief, then in awe. Letters arrived from strangers, farmers, activists, families who faced similar injustices, sharing gratitude, solidarity, encouragement. John stored each one, placing them beside the letters of threats, balancing fear and hope. Each day he walked the dam, not out of anger but reflection, teaching those who came to learn that patience is power, that water can teach, that silence is not absence but potential. Lawsuits filed by the HOA became public spectacles of corruption and negligence. Richard Cole, once confident, now stumbled under scrutiny, his schemes revealed. his words hollow. John observed quietly. Real victory was not headlines, but knowing truth had flowed. Returning to his porch at sunset, the valley quiet again. He watched children play in the mud, neighbors rebuilding with care. Life continues. Every droplet of rain, every stream cutting through the land, carried the story of persistence, justice, and voice. John realized his act, though extreme, sparked a movement of consciousness. Water had taught more than destruction. It had taught clarity, responsibility, and justice. Months turned into a year. The valley adjusted. Life returned cautiously, but forever changed. New growth sprouted in areas once flooded, flowers and grasses pushing through mud. Renewal is possible. Families who lived in fear learned humility and respect. The land and its history were not to be taken lightly. John felt quiet pride not in the destruction, but in the awareness and understanding that spread. Change often comes not through speeches or letters alone, but through acts that force attention, acts that cannot be ignored, acts that teach lessons directly. Invitations arrived, community gatherings, conferences, universities. People eager to hear firsthand how one man, patient, observant, and determined, challenged an entire system and succeeded, not through aggression, but through strategy, wisdom, and timing. John spoke of his father and grandfather, of care taken in every inch of the land, the history imbued in the soil, the sweat and tears that shaped it. He emphasized the fight was not just for property, but for dignity, legacy, and justice itself. The audience listened, captivated not by flood or destruction, but by courage and patience that led to action. Local leaders reconsidered how they treated long-standing residents. They consulted communities before building. They acknowledged history and respect for heritage. Small policy changes emerged, inspired indirectly by John's stand. John realized opening the dam reclaimed more than land. It created ripples of awareness and reform across the region. Walking riverbanks, checking the dam each morning, he understood the immense responsibility of wielding such power with integrity. The water could teach both mercy and consequence. He shared this understanding with anyone who asked, explaining that true courage is not reckless, but deliberate, measured, and aligned with principle. Over time, the valley became a symbol, a story retold of persistence, justice, and the power of a single voice against indifference. His grandfather's work on the dam was more than engineering. It was a metaphor for life itself. Carefully controlled, it preserves and nourishes. Released with purpose, it enforces lessons, demands attention, corrects imbalance. John walked the path from ignored landowner to community figurehead. He felt quiet fulfillment. He acted not out of anger but necessity, not vengeance but principle. Watching children play safely, neighbors rebuild and heal, he realized actions rooted in justice inspire, educate, and transform far beyond the immediate moment. He wanted every reader, listener, and observer to understand. Waiting quietly is sometimes required, but patience alone is not enough. When injustice meets opportunity, courage must act. Strategy must guide. Truth must be revealed. He concluded every speech, letter, and encounter with a reminder. Do not let fear or silence allow wrongdoing to persist. Stand, act, and let your principles flow like water, reshaping what must be reshaped, restoring what has been taken, and teaching the world that integrity and patience together are unstoppable forces, and that one person, guided by conviction and justice, can change not just their world, but the world of many generations to come. John returned each evening to his porch, overlooking the valley that now bore scars and new life alike. He felt the satisfaction of a man who fulfilled both duty and promise, preserving history, honoring ancestors, asserting rights, inspiring others to claim theirs. While the flood had washed away homes and streets, it had also washed in awareness, respect, and understanding that some truths cannot be ignored. Silence is never neutral. Courage, patience, and action together flow endlessly, shaping not only land, but hearts and minds. He left a final thought for anyone reading or reflecting on this story. Know your rights, honor your history, act with integrity. And when injustice threatens what is yours or right, do not hesitate to open the dam. Release the power of your voice, your courage, your truth, and let it flow. Change, like water, is unstoppable once it finds its path. In that flow, the world itself can be transformed. Generations will remember that someone stood firm, acted wisely, and showed that justice, combined with patience and principle, will always find a way to rise.